It's like a call and response. I notice that we have, has everyone had an opportunity to review the minutes?
Yes.
Having done so, I will entertain a motion.
So move that they be accepted as written.
Second it.
It's been moved and properly seconded that the minutes be accepted as written. All in favor? I'll start with you, Ken.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye, aye. It's unanimous. Thank you. So they are all accepted. All right. So our next item would be, we have one item for new business, is that correct?
There's 2 items for new business.
And the article.
There's one state law review,
Yes.
and then the
Okay.
text amendments.
Right. The text amendment. Okay. I always misspeak it, but do we have the historical comparison or profile of this property that we're looking at?
What's the question?
Are you prepared to do the profile of this property we're going to
Yes.
look at?
Sorry.
No, you're fine. I'm just fast today.
325 Delaware Street is part of the Downtown Historic District, and this is a state law review. The scope of work includes construction of a 2-story freestanding wood deck in the rear. The property has an existing deck on the ground level. This project is proposing expanding the deck to the 2nd floor to an existing door. The existing fire escape will be removed and replaced with the proposed wood 2-story freestanding deck in the rear of the building. The proposed project shall be reviewed utilizing the the standards for rehabilitation as set forth by the Secretary of the Interior. A property shall be used for its historic purpose or be placed in a new use that requires minimal change to the defining characteristics of the building and its site and environment. No such change is proposed. The historic character of a property shall be retained and preserved. The removal of historic materials or alteration of features and spaces that characterize a property shall be avoided. The proposed rear deck project will not remove or alter historic features. Each property shall be recognized as a physical record of its time, place, and use. No such change is proposed. Most properties change over time. Those changes that have acquired historic significance in their own right shall be retained and preserved. No such change is proposed. Distinctive features, finishes, and construction techniques or examples of craftsmanship shall be preserved. No such change is proposed. Deteriorated historic features shall be repaired rather than replaced. There's no such change proposed. There's no such change proposed for chemical or physical treatment, such as sandblasting, that would damage historic materials. There's no ground disturbing work proposed, so no impact to archaeological resources. As far as new additions, exterior alterations, or related new construction shall not destroy historic materials that characterize the property. The new work shall be differentiated from the old and shall be compatible with massing, size, scale, and architectural features to protect the historic integrity of the property and its environment. The proposed wood deck is in the rear and is differentiated but compatible with the property. There's no new additions or adjacent related new construction. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
You said this is a freestanding.
Correct.
So it's not attached to the building or anchored to the building?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, because that was going to be my singular question as to how you were going to, I know it's up there.
Without,
Yes, when I looked at the lower level, only because I've been inside of that building, and I was wondering how we were gonna anchor that, as far as, what the capacity of the extra 2 levels were going to be also.
And it'll be reviewed through our Public Works Department for building codes, but it's getting anchored into the ground.
Okay. Does anybody else have any other concerns?
This is really kind of this is an issue, I guess, for the codes folks. I just, I'm wondering how far it has to be away from that vent. There should probably be some standoff between the exhaust fan vent from the stove. And if that means he has to shorten it or whatever, but that's really a codes question that
Okay.
I just thought I'd bring up. But no, yeah, could have some serious heat on the wood.
I can ask Public Works about that. But during if you approve it, can you include to meet
Condition.
Building codes.
building code?
Yep, absolutely.
Just to keep that clarified.
Is that even legal now to have a freestanding without attached to the building that's using it?
I guess our code folks are gonna have to give us some clarity on that.
Yeah.
Because as I
And if
mentioned,
it differs, then we would bring it back.
yes.
Did he give a reason on why
That's
he's
really
gonna
weird.
not touch the building?
So that it doesn't damage the building.
The one we just did over here,
That's freestanding also
is it freestanding? Okay.
at
And we're talking
404
about the
Shawnee.
ones, yeah, it's right
Yes,
around the
yeah.
corner is also freestanding.
Good.
Okay. Are there any?
And you'll see that there's already a deck. They're just expanding it,
Yeah.
so.
Just as an aside, because it doesn't have anything to do with this action tonight, but how did we authorize black paint on that wall?
Yes.
It was
No,
before
they-
my time.
Yes.
Yeah, they had already,
They had done it,
Did-
and then they
did,
came and
and then-
asked for permission,
yeah.
and then we
Mea
said
culpa.
yes, yes. Yeah.
But we don't regulate paint color. And signs aren't, or painting doesn't require a permit, so it wouldn't be reviewed by this board.
Even though it sits in the historical district?
If it doesn't require a permit, then we don't have any action to take.
If it were a historical building on the registry, then would it require approval?
Because can it damage the brick?
It can. So if we were reviewing a project and that was part of it, we could review it because we're reviewing the whole project. But by itself, painting, it doesn't require a permit in the city of Leavenworth. So there's no way that we would know that the project is happening. Now, if there was an unpainted surface that was brick and they were asking for advice, we would say, don't paint your brick. I don't know if this was painted already or not, but,
Well, murals require a sign permit.
okay. So
Yeah,
then
I
it
think
would,
that's what
that's
it was
triggered it?
I know that
the
there's-
placing of the lion's
we've done
head
it,
on
yeah.
there was
Oh, okay.
the reason, more specifically than the paint. But yeah, then they came in and said, mea culpa, basically. Here's my $200, and we said, that's fine.
But, Rick, you are correct, it is in the historic district. And I think I've been on the board long enough, though I think that was probably something that came up at the time, so I'd really have to dive through some archives to find out, but thank
And
you
you
for.
know, I don't know if the installation of the exhaust vent may have also been part of the application or not.
Okay.
Clearly, that would require
Yes.
historic preservation. But
And
I
that
can barely
could
remember what
be
happened last week, so I'm not promising anything.
An exhaust fan could be done administratively because it's part of HVAC.
Well,
So it may or may not have been
Sure.
reviewed by the board.
well, anybody who wants to put money into the 300 block of Delaware is good with me.
Right. So are there any other considerations? Since I'm hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
I will make a motion that we approve this application from Dave Richards for construction of a freestanding wooden deck that complies with city building codes.
Second.
So it's been moved and properly seconded that we have,
Point of order.
point of order, yes.
I know we don't have any public, but we should open the public hearing.
Thank you. I digress here. I'd like to open the public hearing at this point. Is there anyone here from the public that would care to speak in support or against this potential project? Is there anyone here that would like to speak in support or against this project? Is there anyone here that would care to speak for or against this project? Hearing none and seeing none, I'm going to close the public hearing.
Thank you. I know there's a motion on the table right now.
But you prefaced it with point of order, and thank you, because that's what we do on our team.
Yes.
So I will now defer back to the motion that has been properly moved and properly seconded, and
Aye.
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 aye. And it has been approved with the specificity of it meeting the code requirements.
Correct, yes.
Thank you. All right.
For this next case, Article 9 text amendments, you'll see that I gave an addendum to page 2. It's 9.04, that section. So if you had comments on the packet, this should clarify it. And we discussed it at Planning Commission on Monday also. The Planning Commission is the board that actually makes the recommendation to City Commission. But since this article is directly related to this board, we wanted to bring it forward to you all also. And it wouldn't be a formal recommendation, but
We can endorse it.
endorse it, yes.
What about recommended changes?
We can make changes.
Okay.
So the city commission adopted the development regulations in June 2016 after a year-long comprehensive update process. The historic preservation section, Article 9, has not had a comprehensive update since that time. This update will ensure it remains up-to-date and comprehensive. The proposed amendments update the code to reflect current practice and laws, adds clarification of current practices and policies, and reorganizes the existing article for better flow. So in that handout I gave you, we are changing the membership from 7 to 5 to help with quorum. And then also clarifying that to every extent possible, that 3 members have some amateur or professional experience with one of the following listed below. And if it's not possible, then that's good. And it's okay, and that's clarified in there. There was also references to the environs portion of the statute, so that was removed. There was some inconsistent language and correcting language throughout to match current practices. Adds clarification in language to differentiate between review processes, specifically clarifying the difference between a certificate of appropriateness and state law review. Most of the reviews that we do at this board are state law because our local list is small and most of the reviews are to national or state register listed properties, which would be state law, triggered by a permit. And then I moved sections to combine alteration, expansion, or demolition major with procedure for demolition, alteration, or expansion. I'm happy to have any questions or if you have any comments or corrections.
Under B, the membership, is that okay?
Yes.
We're changing from 7 to 5. Do we have 6 now? Is that correct?
We have
Sherry and Ken?
5.
We only have 5.
So Ken is no longer?
Correct.
I mean,
Ken Bauer.
Ken
Yes.
Bauer.
Yes.
Yes.
So, okay, so we do have 5.
5.
Yeah, I don't see any problem with that because to be honest with you, we're always here anyway.
Yeah.
We just don't miss, but in the past, we've had some problems with people missing, so, okay, that's fine, thanks.
And there's no statute reason to have 7.
Gotcha.
So the clarity for me is that this will bring us into, I want to use the word as compliance with, but the better term would be alignment with state, so that the things that we're doing here, we're consistent across the board. And
Correct.
that our verbiage here is the same verbiage that they're reading at state.
And you'll also notice that we just updated our agreement with the State Historic Preservation Office. As part of that, we had to provide a list of reviews that could be done at the administrative level, and they were sort of listed before, but we just made it more clear. That is 9.16, page 9-9 at the bottom. It just talks about what is done at the administrative level. Pretty much any major exterior alteration will come to the board.
And that applies exterior only.
I mean, if there's a major interior rehab, that would come to you also. But minor interior work or HVAC or, something minor inside, then I would review it, or a roof,
Or putting in a restroom.
yes.
That would be a minor review.
It's up to the discretion. If there's an interior modification that would significantly change the outlay or, the plan of the house, then I could, staff could bring that to the commission.
Well, I give you a case in point. First Presbyterian Church is on the National Register. We put in an elevator. It never came here.
That would be more mechanical. So I think
That's
it's up to the
ADA
discretion
access.
of staff, and we're adding the
We got
clarification.
tax credits for it,
Yeah,
but nothing came up to this level.
yeah.
So I guess my counter question to you, Dick, would be, was that to help facilitate you being more
Handicap capable.
ADA compliant?
Yeah.
Yeah, and also when you're doing a tax credit project, they do the state law review at that level.
So it just skips this board for,
It can,
Purposes.
Yeah, now when we did exterior work, it came here for a
Yes.
minor approval.
yes, yeah.
Yeah.
So we're just clarifying it and making sure it matches the agreement that we have with the state.
If you go to 9.02B, and it says the State Historical Preservation Office. We later, in 904C, we talk about the State Historical Preservation Officer as the SHPO. Is SHPO just the officer, or is it the office also?
I think it depends on the context of.
Right, so
yeah.
SHPO is SHPO.
Yeah,
It can be officer or office.
office,
Therefore, the first use of that is in 9.02. That's where SHPO should be listed.
okay,
And then you could take State Historical Preservation Office.
I can take out the
officer.
SHPO from that.
Right.
I will make that edit.
Then in 9.03, the last sentence, it says local, state, or national registers. It's a register. It's not plural, of historic places, and it should be capitalized. national should be a capital N, register capital R, capital H, capital P.
I think I did registers there because it's referencing the local, state, and national, not just the national.
Yeah, it should be registers,
Okay.
because,
As in
all right.
plural.
because that's
Yeah.
the noun.
All right.
I just had a couple of things.
Okay,
On 904B, after to every extent possible, the next one that begins with a minimum of 3 board members must, and then it just kind of goes to the,
did you see
changed
the
that on the-
addendum?
no, I did not get, oh, hey,
Got an addendum.
all righty.
And I changed the
Right here.
shall to will.
Thank you.
So it's not,
Okay,
We're good.
yeah,
Yeah,
Good,
shall,
thank you.
you don't violate.
yes.
and then one, let me find exactly where I had this in, and then make sure you didn't change it. You can entertain questions from other people.
Dick, did you have any more?
No.
Oh, okay.
So currently, it's the page 9.2 is where all her changes are annotated, Ken.
Well, and it also changes 9.04 C.
But it's page 9-2,
Page 9, okay.
yeah.
No, I was looking,
And you can feel free to email if you come across more, because this won't go to the commission, it'll go to city commission at the end of April, I believe,
Okay, so this is currently our draft.
draft.
Good.
And if you want to, it would be a motion to endorse.
so since we're making these changes to basically bring in alignment with the thing we have with the state, the agreement we have with the state, I want to make, I know they're going to redo 4th Street, and it has under the minor things is public improvements to include curbs, sidewalks, parking areas inside the historic district. So I just want to make sure this is a minor thing, so it can go through your office, but we'll just make sure we sort of check that box so we're in compliance with the state with whatever they're going to do to 4th Street, whatever the plan is.
Okay.
So you need a motion,
Yes.
and the motion would be to endorse.
Yes.
I move that we endorse as a Preservation Commission the changes with those that were brought forth.
I'll second that.
It's been moved and properly seconded that we endorse the draft. And yes, then I'm going to stop myself.
It's not a public hearing.
Oh.
Because it's not an
The public
official
hearing.
action.
Yeah, the public hearing actually occurred with the planning commission.
Gotcha.
Okay. Thank you.
Well, now I know.
Always. So,
We're keeping you on your toes.
it's always. So now that it's been moved and properly seconded, I will begin my voting with Ken on your end.
Aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. So it has been unanimous that we move to endorse the draft. Thank you.
For other business, we just had one minor state law review that I did. 214 Arch Street repaired their private sewer line in the yard. Also, I gave a handout with the schedule at a glance for the 2023 Kansas Preservation Conference, which is in Independence, Kansas, May 4th through 6th. I emailed you all about it. If anyone is interested in going, we can apply to the state for a grant that would cover registration, which is $50, mileage, and your hotel. The only thing that you would be liable for is your time and food. But they do, if you came, so Thursday morning, there's a CLG track that you could come for that has lunch provided. Friday, lunch is included. And then there's some tours, and I kind of gave you the schedule at a glance so you can decide if you wanted to come for a day or the whole thing. We will have to apply for that grant probably in the next couple weeks.
So Friday's the big day. I mean,
Yes,
if we're gonna-
Friday is the big day, if you're wanting to go. Don't feel pressured, but there are funds to help. It would be reimbursed.
I've made the last 3, I think, and they're okay, they're good. But yeah, there's a lot of lost time at the beginning and the end, but
I'll defer to get back with you probably midweek. It's gotta.
Once Katrina sends us a reminder email, I'll probably send out an email asking you guys for more of a firm answer then.
Not a bad consideration.
And then, as we were talking about, Preservation Month is in May. There's gonna be a proclamation at City Commission on April 25th. It's at 6 PM in City Commission chambers here. It'd be great to have one or all of you in attendance to accept that from the mayor. So that's like an FYI.
I'll plan on going, so.
Yeah.
I'm planning on going myself,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
so hopefully we'll have
All of us,
all
yeah.
of us, hopefully. But we will be well represented for sure.
And I don't have anything else. We will not have a May meeting, but we will have a June.
And that's the 31st,
What,
right?
June?
In June?
think
Well,
it's
it's, well, it's
June
May.
7th.
Okay, 7th then.
What date are you here for?
Building with it.
That's
I
right.
was a little late.
Go
Oh.
to
I
it.
live in a historic district, and I got the letter, and I was just interested, do I need to leave?
The public hearing for 325 already happened.
Sorry.
It was approved as
Okay.
proposed.
Is
But
there
I
a
did have a
specific
question.
question or
No, I
concern?
won't waste your time, thank you. I was just interested in what goes on in my community.
Thank you.
Thank you. Me too.
I have no
Also
idea.
interested in what happens in our community.
Okay.
What was that about, do you know?
325, our first
Oh,
case.
325, okay.
Okay.
Does Leavenworth County have a preservation commission?
I don't think so.
Because I heard from our architect, we're working a project at First Presbyterian, and he said that Leavenworth County received some funding for preservation, some preservation
Probably
project.
the Historical Society.
Uh.
But there's not a certified local government like we have here in the city.
Okay.
Oh, a point of interest that I talked with you about earlier today, since some people might want to know. The carriage house of 519 Marshall, which is in the 3rd Avenue Historic District, was demolished. That did not need to come before us. It was approved by the state. So if you're out there wondering what's going on over there, that's what's going on over there.
And hopefully work's gonna be starting on the house
There were
soon.
people with lumber today. I was very excited. Not as excited as their probably immediate neighbors who are ecstatic and doing cartwheels. But it's starting to come around.
Big project.
So the only other question I have would be offline about the difference between the Historical Society and us specifically about how it is that we're not enjoined when we're doing things?
Well,
they're a
yeah,
private
that's
organization.
my concern, is that, you know, is it something that we can hitchhike on? You know, if they're getting grants for X somewhere in Leavenworth County, does that also make us available to hitchhike on that grant?
Well, we are, being a certified local government, we have access to funds that are specifically, they're, part of the state's budget has to pass through a certain percentage to certified local governments. I think there's 16 in Kansas. So if there was a project that we wanted to do that needed funding, like I think there was design guidelines done maybe a few years ago, maybe maybe a while ago.
Maybe a while ago.
That's a project that could be done, or a preservation plan, not through this board, but there's gonna be a resurvey of the downtown and industrial historic district. It'll get presented to the board, but, the RFPs were open today. We received 5 bids, so we'll be reviewing those, and awarding that bid at the April 25th City Commission meeting.
Okay, so I guess
And we got grant money for it.
For the survey, we got grant money, yeah.
so I guess I'm kind of understanding where your approach to this is that if we're the Historical Preservation Commission for the area that we've got, it's kind of like you would almost think that we were all co-joined, if that's the right word I want to use.
Well, I don't know that
That might not be the right word.
But the Historical Society, the Leavenworth Historical Society is a private nonprofit. So it's a separate entity that's getting the funds.
We just have overlapping interest,
Yes.
Right.
And
right,
so,
but not overlapping funding. Is some of the funding that we get from the state, we can use for design features that impact historic districts, correct? Is this
Or-
kind of a line of funding that we could open up for like 4th Street? For their design, 4th Street's gonna get redesigned or whatever. I don't know how much money we have, but I don't want money to expire unused.
Well, we don't have, it's funds we can request. It's a matching grant, so we would have to make sure there were city funds available. But if there's special projects that the board wanted to do, such as some sort of design guidelines for a district, or a preservation plan looking at potential expansion of districts, if there was an area of town that hasn't been surveyed, that's something we'd have to put in our city budget, and then also get grant funds for. But it's certainly something that we can discuss.
okay then. If there is nothing else to come before us, I will entertain a motion to dismiss.
I would like a motion to adjourn.
Second?
It's been moved and properly seconded that we adjourn. I will start with my voting on this side.
Yes?
Got it.
Aye.
Aye. We're in compliance. We are adjourned.